Welcome to Career Uprising. I'm your host, Lorraine Rise, a career and executive coach dedicated to helping clients who are 40 plus to break free from feeling stuck and transform into the unstoppable force you're destined to become. Let's start the uprising. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Career Uprising. This is episode 196, How Gen Z is Shaping the Workforce. I hope you're doing well. The holidays are basically here. I think about the time this episode comes out, I'm recording everything way ahead of time here in batches. So it always makes it a little funky when I try to tell you what's going on in my life at this moment and what's going on when this airs. But thank you for finding me. We're going to dive into a topic I don't talk about a whole lot, the younger generation, Gen Z. So I typically work with mid and late career professionals, and that is still true with Career Uprising for the last 10 years now. And and that's not changing. But I have to tell you, there is such a trend and this episode goes along well with the one I just did. Okay, so the same trend here of younger professionals needing help in the workforce and moms and dads, right, coming to me saying, help my 20 something get a job and move out or improve their career, whatever it is. So I just did an episode right before this about when the nest isn't empty and your adult child needs to land a job. This episode today is kind of a companion to that. And I have to say, I didn't do that on purpose, but it means this is really a prominent issue. Young people are struggling, but today isn't so much about how they're struggling. It's just more about how they're showing up because Gen Z is growing up. They are full-blown adults, many of them, and they're in the workforce now. And they're reshaping it. They're not like us. And believe me, I'm learning that. I have a Gen Z myself. I have an almost 16-year-old daughter right now. So she's not in the workforce yet. Well, she is a little bit. She does have a part-time job, but not the corporate workforce. But they're here and they're here to stay, and they're not like us. And I'm very, very aware of this on a personal level. So let's talk about what this means for the future of work. So first of all, though, before we dive in, thank you for joining me. So glad you're here. Go to careeruprising.com, learn more about what my team and I do. We can help you through these hard times, this government shutdown and everything that's going on. We're helping lots of people to get through it and get interviews. So learn more there about what we do. But let's talk today about Gen Z. These people are roughly born between 1997 and 2012, and they're fully in the workforce. They're not kids. A lot of them are in their 20s. They're interviewing for jobs. They're challenging norms, and they're redefining what success looks like at work. And whether you like their approach or find it frustrating, one thing is for sure, they're changing the game. So let's start with what makes Gen Z a little bit different. So you always have to think about generational differences in what the world is like when a certain generation grows up, because that's what shapes them. And Gen Z entered adulthood in a different world than we did. You know, they grew up during a recession, went to college with political and social upheaval. Some of us did way back decades ago as well. They also started working during the pandemic, which is really unique and really significant. None of us can say that at all. And I think the effects of that cannot be understated. And I know that had a huge effect on education. I mean, we ended up pulling our daughter out of public schools and going private, and that was a big part of it. So it's really affecting how they learn and how they show up socially and how they show up at work, of course. They've seen a lot of instability, so it's no surprise then that they value stability and authenticity more than flash or titles. They want transparency, fairness, flexibility. They have their values, and they're sticking to them. And they don't see, generally speaking, work as their identity. And I think that's a big shift because a lot of us used to. And millennials, too, were part of that hustle culture, not Gen Z. I think they're rejecting that. I think they want balance culture. I don't think that they're really into the hustle. And I'll admit I've struggled with that. I definitely have the whole hustle culture in me. You work hard, play hard, you got to sweat hard, you pay your dues, right? And so I will admit I have a hard time letting go of that. I do believe in work-life balance, but I also believe in working your ass off and really showing up. And if you want something, you go after it, right? I don't think I'll ever totally let go of that mentality. But I think what Gen Z is saying is I'll work hard, but I'm not going to sell my soul for a paycheck. And you know what? That's not the worst thing, right? That's probably okay. The rest of us are used to selling our souls for paychecks. So I think they can change that part of it. But anyway, Gen Z is forcing companies to rethink how they operate. And here's some shifts that we're seeing because of them. Communication style is one. They tend to prefer direct, honest feedback. I think they reject a lot of the fluff and corporate jargon, just say what you mean instead of like creating synergies and all the, all that corporate fluff. I think they want transparency. I love the transparency around pay that's coming. I think that that is a really good thing. I totally support that. I think that I'm glad to see that laws are changing around that. And if you think about it, it really makes sense. This is a generation that grew up on the internet. So information is right there, transparent at their fingertips all the time. It really shouldn't be shocking that they expect transparency. They're accustomed to having whatever information they want right then and there on demand all the time. So I'm not saying that's all good. It's definitely not, but maybe it's created a world now where it's harder to get away with biases and unfairness and hiding things, right? Not all bad. Hybrid and remote work. They don't necessarily see that as a perk. A lot of them just expect it. And you can may have an opinion one way or another on that. I don't think it should be just expected, but it really is the norm now. It has become at least much more normal than it ever used to be. It was not that long ago. You really had to fight to work from home. I remember having to have that fight 7, 8 years ago. It maybe 10 at the most. I mean, it was a big deal to get any kind of remote work. So now it's not so much at all. I'm happy for that change. Overall, I do support that. So I think that that is a good change. They definitely want control over where and how they work. I gotta say, Gen Z, I agree with you on that. As an entrepreneur, I'm all about control in my career and freedom and autonomy. So maybe I've got a little bit of that in me as well. They also have social values that are very prominent. They lead with their social values. They want a company that stands for something. And they want to know what that is, whether it's just sustainability, DEI, ethical leadership. If the culture feels inauthentic, they are not interested in that. They want something that has meaning and that is aligned with their values. I think, in before that, in more recent decades, the rest of us were like, you get a job, right? It's a job. And you stay there and you work for that company and you don't cherry pick quite so much. So that is changing. And things have to change, whether you agree with it or not. We have to let things evolve and change. It's just natural. It's going to. I do think this is a generation that has no problem quitting and walking away. If they don't like the culture or whatever it is, the burnout, the schedule, they don't want to repeat that, right? So they're probably going to leave. I mean, we've had the job hopping already started for a number of years now, and it's very normal to only be somewhere 2 years. Nobody really bats an eye at that at all. So it's interesting to see how things will continue to grow and evolve. And it's been really interesting as well for me to see my own Gen Z daughter as well. It really embody a lot of these. A lot of hits home, not 100%, but a lot of it. I definitely think she is rejecting a lot of she's not into like heels and business suits. She's not going to be that kind. It's all about sneakers. It's all about being comfortable, right? They want to wear their sweats and all that. Just it's about self-expression, personal style, things like that. I grew up where it was more about conformity and this is the dress code and this was the uniform, right? And you didn't really question that. That's just how things were so much stricter back then. And I don't want to rant like an old person. about that? Sometimes I do, but I'm just saying I'm watching a lot of changes unfold in front of my eyes, and some of them right in my household, and it's interesting to say the least. So let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. You're going to hear a little bit more about Career Uprising and how we can help you live your best life and your best career. So let's take a quick 2-minute break, and we have a lot more about Gen Z when we come back. Hey everyone, it's Lorraine again. While the show takes a quick break, I want to tell you a little bit more about what we do at Career Uprising. We've been in business for 10 years now, helping clients who are either executives or in the late career phase. We work with clients in all different industries, from tech to healthcare to education. Are you worried about ageism in your job search? Or maybe you haven't looked for a job in years and you feel outdated and overwhelmed. Or maybe you feel stuck and want to figure out what's next for you in your career. If any of these sound like you, we might be a good fit. My team and I have helped over 500 clients over the last decade to land new jobs faster than they could on their own. We offer world-class coaching, resume writing, and salary negotiation support. First, you can sign up for my mailing list and be a part of my growing community. Head over to careeruprising.com today and learn more and book a call with me. That's careeruprising.com. I can't wait to connect with you. Let's get back to the show. All right. So what can employers and leaders and companies learn from Gen Z? If you manage or recruit Gen Z, you need to meet them where they are. Not where you wish they were, but where they actually are. This really is a unique generation. And so here's how it works. Here's what I would recommend. Be clear, not corporate, when you're communicating with them. So these are messages for somebody who's working right now with a Gen Z person in the workplace. Be clear, not corporate. Skip the long mission statements and the buzzwords. Tell them what you do, why it matters, and how they fit in. 2, I would give feedback often. This is true for everybody, but I think that Gen Z craves development and connection. They're used to kind of feeling connection, especially online and remote work with people, not just once a year in a performance review. I think they want that social aspect in there. Show your values in action. Don't just post about culture. Live it. Be transparent about how your organization actually supports people, and even better, how it serves the greater good. Offer plans for growth. I think they are motivated, for the most part, to learn and progress, and it's not just about titles and promotions. They care about more than that. They want to have meaning and purpose behind it. They have a radar for authenticity. They really do. If your company says one thing and does another, they'll probably call you out or just leave and quit. And if you're a Gen Z job seeker or maybe a parent helping one, understand that your values are valid, but so is the need to be adaptable. There's definitely going to be some conflicts. I absolutely see conflicts between myself and my daughter in terms of values. And I have to be flexible and adaptable and remind myself that she's not me and she's growing up in a totally different world than it was for me just 30 or 40 years ago, not that long ago. The world is very, very different. So I cannot expect her to be the same and have the same values. No way. So look for compromise, look for flexibility and purpose, but you also need to prove your value early on. Show initiative, be dependable as a Gen Z. This is who I'm speaking to now. Speaking to you, Gen Z. Work hard, okay? Take a little bit of our hustle culture, just a little bit. It's good. And put in some balance culture in there as well. I think the truth is usually in the middle. All right? The best careers blend your values, but also with hard work and effort. Put in your time. Pay your dues. And yes, you can learn something from your parents, but we can also learn from you too. And parents, if your 20-something is struggling to find their place, don't panic. This generation is redefining success, and it may look slower or different than what you expect. Support them without rescuing them. Don't do it for them. I really, really, really recommend go back if you have not and listen to the episode right before this, When the Nest Isn't Empty. It's a great companion to this. In fact, I'd recommend both the parent and the young adult listen to it. You do need to let them struggle. That is where the growth happens. That has been a big, big lesson for me. I'm doing much, much better now than I was a year or two in letting my daughter struggle, make mistakes. I really had to take my hand off the wheel a lot, and I'm so glad I finally have, because everything has gotten exponentially better since I finally decided to do that and to stop micromanaging and stop forcing her into my worldview and into the hustle culture that I grew up with and still love a little bit, and recognize that times are different now, and she is different. And I know there's a whole lot we could say about the younger generation and all the stereotypes that they're lazy and entitled, and I'm sure that's sometimes true, but not for everybody. I think for the most part, they're just operating under a different playbook, one that prioritizes mental health, well-being, values, freedom, versus the old model of hierarchy and loyalty and climbing the ladder and paying your dues. It just looks a lot different. It was funny because somebody just the other day was saying something about how, yes, I was at book club. That's right. And we were talking about how the younger generation is all about like talking about your feelings and mental health and therapy and mental health days and all these things. And we're like, we were just taught to shove it down, right? Just like get over it. Just keep going, right? You don't sit around and talk about your problems all day. You get on with it, over and on with it, right? That's not the world that we live in today. Everything is much more open. Talk about it, feel it, process it. That's not all bad. Not all bad. But I think, like I said, the truth is in the middle and there needs to be some compromise. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. This was just a short, quick message. Gen Z is not kind of my usual topic, my usual audience, but I think it's something that's relevant to a lot of the people that I work with, like myself, who have young adults, either teenagers or 20-somethings. So until next time, please go to careeruprising.com. You can listen to every episode. The archive is there. And I hope to connect with you. I'd love to have a call with you and see how we can help. Until then, take care. Hey, it's Lorraine, and I want to say thanks for listening. If you found value in today's show, I would be honored to have your review on Apple Podcasts. It's the single best way to help this show be found by other listeners, and you'll earn some good karma. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to connect with you next time on Career Uprising.